Okay, so real talk for a sec. Who here has pulled an all-nighter? Come on, I know I'm not alone. Deadlines, that next episode on Netflix, or maybe just one more quest in that video game, am I right? It feels like we live in a world where everything gets prioritized over sleep. But, and this is a big but, what if I told you that skimping on sleep is like basically sending your body a giant stress signal?
It's way more crucial than people realize.
Serious is true.
The CDC actually considers insufficient sleep a full-blown public health problem.
Really? I had no idea it was that serious.
Yeah. Over a third of U.S. adults are chronically sleep deprived. Think about that.
A third?
More than 1 in 3 people are walking around sleep deprived.
Wow. Okay, so that kind of begs the question, if it's so important, how come so many of us get by on less? Like, how is that even possible?
Yeah. That is the million-dollar question, and that's what we're diving into today, using excerpts from Wikiversity's Sleep Soundly resource. It really breaks down the science of why those are so important.
Okay, so it's more than just feeling a little groggy?
Way more.
Because I know I've definitely had those mornings.
We've all been there. The thing is, it can have some pretty serious consequences.
Right, and the Sleep Soundly resource, they went so far as to say that the CDC declared insufficient sleep a public health crisis.
Yeah, and they actually made a pretty interesting comparison.
Oh, really? What's that?
Getting less than 6 hours a night regularly.
Yeah.
It's actually been linked to a higher risk of early death, kind of similar to the risks associated with smoking.
Whoa, are you serious?
Yeah.
That's a pretty crazy comparison. I mean, we all know smoking's not exactly like a health food, but to think that lack of sleep could be just as bad, that's kind of freaky.
It really makes you realize just how fundamental sleep is to our health and well-being.
And it's not just our own health we're talking about. The resource also mentions some pretty scary stuff, like major accidents, things like Chernobyl.
Oh, wow.
Even the Challenger disaster have been linked to sleep deprivation.
That's pretty intense.
Really makes you think, like, something we often take for granted. Something as simple as getting enough sleep can have huge impacts, not just for us, but, like, for everyone.
For sure. And, it brings up this really important point. Sleep, it's not just about our bodies getting a break. It's not just downtime.
Right.
Our brains are actually really active during sleep.
Yeah, there's this whole thing where people think, oh, when I'm asleep, my brain's off. But the resource totally busted that myth.
It's totally a myth.
Yeah.
It's actually the complete opposite. Think of it more like hitting the save button on your brain.
Interesting.
While you're sleeping, your brain is super busy moving everything you learned and did during the day, all that information, from short-term to long-term memory.
So it's like, what is it? RAM. It's clearing the RAM.
Exactly.
Okay, so if you don't sleep, it's like your computer's just running and running. Eventually, it's just going to crash.
And that is when we start seeing the link to chronic disease.
Okay, so let's get into that. What happens when we just chronically don't sleep enough? What are the risks there?
Well, Sleep Soundly specifically points to type 2 diabetes as a major risk.
Okay, I've heard that before. But what's the actual connection? How does lack of sleep lead to diabetes?
It seems like when you don't get enough sleep, your body, it just can't regulate blood sugar as well. And that obviously significantly increases the risk of developing type 2 diabetes.
It's like your body doesn't have time to reset and regulate itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow.
But it goes beyond diabetes. There are also strong links to other chronic conditions like cardiovascular disease,
Oh, wow.
obesity, even depression.
It's not just our physical health, but our mental health as well.
Absolutely. And it's not just adults who need to be worried. Sleep deprivation can significantly impact children, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the resource even mentioned how it can affect the hypothalamus in children, which can lead to weight gain.
So we're talking a pretty wide range of risks here for both kids and adults.
We are, and it's really important to remember that the connection between sleep and these conditions, it's complex. Research is still ongoing, but the link is definitely there.
Right.
It's something to keep in mind.
So we've established that sleep is absolutely essential. But knowing that and actually getting a good night's sleep, those are two very different things.
Right.
The good news is this Sleep Soundly resource also has some really practical tips on how to improve sleep hygiene.
Yeah, and it's funny how, sometimes even the smallest changes can make a huge difference. Sleep Soundly really stressed consistency.
Okay.
And I'm not even talking about the number of hours, but going to bed and waking up around the same time every day.
Oh, yeah.
Even on the weekends.
That is always a struggle for me. Like, it's so tempting to sleep in on the weekends and try to catch up, but I swear it throws me off for the whole week. Like, my body just doesn't know what time it is anymore.
It's true. Our bodies really crave that regularity. And here's one you might not expect. Getting some sunlight first thing in the morning can actually help.
So, like, ditch the blackout curtains, open the windows, let that sunshine in.
Exactly.
Okay, I can get with that. But how does that help you sleep later on? It seems kind of counterintuitive.
It does, right. But getting that sunlight in the morning actually helps regulate your natural sleep-wake cycle. It's like setting your internal clock to the right time zone.
Ah, okay. So you're kind of giving your body the good morning signal from the get-go. Okay, so that's during the day. What about, like, the hour or two before bed? What does the resource suggest for winding down at night?
So it's time to talk about the kind of elephant in the room, which is screens.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The blue light that's emitted from our phones, laptops, TVs, all of it, can actually mess with the production of a key hormone that regulates our sleep, which is melatonin.
Oh, right, melatonin. I knew that was important for sleep, but I didn't realize screen time could affect it that much.
It's huge. Think about how you feel after you've been like scrolling on your phone before bed. Does
Yeah.
it really help you relax?
Not really.
That pre-sleep screen time could actually be contributing to those nights where you just can't fall asleep.
It's like my mind is still racing, even though I'm, like, physically tired.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why Sleep Soundly actually suggests putting in place a digital curfew. Even if it's just for like an hour before bed, just give your brain a chance to chill out, without that stimulation.
So it's like creating separation between your day
Mhm.
and the time where you're supposed to be resting.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So besides ditching screens, what else can we do in those few hours before bed? I remember the resource mentioned something about a hot bath.
Yes, that can be a game changer.
Really?
A hot bath or even a hot shower can work wonders.
Okay.
It's relaxing, sure, but there's actually science behind it.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
So when you take a hot bath, your body temperature rises, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then when you get out, it drops. And that drop actually signals to your body that it's time for bed.
So it's like flipping that switch naturally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's such a simple trick, but it really works.
Wow. That's amazing. It's like you're speaking your body's language.
Mm-hmm.
So we've covered during the day. We've covered what to do in the evening. What about just the sleep environment itself? Does the resource talk about that?
Absolutely. And it's something a lot of people don't even really consider, but think about it. If you were designing the ideal sleep space, what would it look like?
Yeah.
What kind of vibe would just scream, rest and relaxation happen here?
Well, I can tell you right now, mine would be like cool, dark, quiet, like a cave, but, for
Language in
relaxing.
my mind.
Right.
And yet so many of us, we have clutter, we've got our electronics. Some people even have work stuff piled up in their bedroom. It's like we forget that it's supposed to be for sleeping.
So no more using my desk in the corner as a home office. And maybe I should actually invest in those blackout curtains.
Exactly. And think about the temperature, too. A slightly cooler room can actually help you sleep better. And this might seem obvious, but a comfy bed and pillows can make a world of difference.
Oh, for sure. There's nothing better than just sinking into a comfy bed at the end of a long day.
It's true. You got to give yourself permission to really unwind. But creating that perfect sleep environment, it goes beyond just the physical space, Like, what about that mental clutter we bring to bed with us?
Yeah.
Sleep Soundly had some good tips on how to deal with that, too.
Yeah, they talked about those nights where you just lay there and you can't shut your brain off.
Yeah.
They basically said, if you're stuck like that for more than 20 minutes, don't just lie there and stress about it. Get up, do something relaxing, like read a book, listen to music, and then try again when you actually feel tired.
It's so smart because it breaks that cycle.
It's like hitting the reset button on your brain.
Exactly. We've all been there, right? Staring at the clock, worrying about not sleeping, which just makes it even harder to fall asleep. It's like we sabotage ourselves.
Totally. It's
What?
so true. But, one thing I really liked about this resource is that it made me realize we actually have more control over this whole sleep thing than we think.
Yeah.
Like, we can actually take control of our sleep hygiene and make positive changes.
Absolutely. You have all the power. You can create the perfect sleep environment, build good habits. And honestly, if you've tried all the things and you're still struggling, talk to a doctor.
Right.
There could be something else going on, like an actual sleep disorder that needs to be addressed.
That's a good point. It's like they say, if you don't prioritize sleep, your body will eventually prioritize it for you.
So true.
And it's not always pretty.
Not at all.
It's so important,
Uh-huh.
It's right up there with eating and breathing. And by actually making it a priority, We're not just investing in a good night's sleep, but in our overall health and well-being.
Well said. And on that note, I want to leave you with this. Imagine someone is about to spend the night in your bedroom for the very first time. They walk in, they take it all in. What story does your sleep environment tell?
Ooh, good question.
Would they say it's like a peaceful oasis? A place where sleep comes easily? Or is it more of a reflection of a busy, chaotic, always-on life?
Wow, that's powerful.
Food for thought, right?
It really is a call to action for us all. I think we can all make some changes, maybe starting tonight.
Here's to creating those sleep sanctuaries and waking up feeling amazing.
Cheers to that.